the market will pop, because keep in mind that's just even recent resistance all the way up there. And then what ends up happening is that the 78.6 happens to line up with previous market structure. And what setup on the site do we call that? Can you see the W there? I mean, it's as plain as day. So that if anything, you're telling me that this guy has settled up with people that were kind of screwed over by him in the past. This would not W like that unless that was actually the case. This is a pretty powerful message from the market that they believe that there's some sort of value down here. So this is a really good example of, I think, a market that's trying to make a saucer bottom here. Notice how kind of symmetrical this looks. I think it actually starts from over here. So you might find that this thing actually just goes crunching all the way up there. If you're lucky, you get a nice little pullback here to give you that reload zone bid. But I wouldn't be surprised if the saucer bottom is like something like that. And that might actually, that does look good. I like that because I think this is the saucer bottom as well, right? So there, all the way along there and along those lines. But this is huge, eh? So this goes all the way over to like there. Huge, huge saucer bottom. And really, this makes perfect sense. This is exactly when this is supposed to happen. The issue here is, like, do you just go and buy that W? I would. I would be more than happy just to buy maybe half of my desired position here on this W. And then if we did get pullbacks or maybe this jumped up and you just keep, adjusting your reload zone as you go, you buy the other half on the reload zone pullback. What are you guys going on about here? What I would just simply say is, I mean, I don't know whether this is relevant, but I think this high is probably perfectly relevant. What should we expect should be the absolute sort of typical, call it a dead cat bounce, if you will, but what should be like the very typical move that we should expect out of all of these things? So where is 38.2s? Oh, what a surprise, right at 2.618. I don't know whether I would use that because this is a lower low. I'd probably even right now just even use that double bottom there. Interesting. 877s also happen to match up. Notice how 4669s match up with this if this is some sort of like inverted head and shoulders. So that's interesting. So just the point here is, I think down the road, maybe a year from now or something, I think you could easily see $2 on this thing at 50 cents, 40 cents. And if you're telling me that he settled up all his debts at 40 cents and it's right now sitting 56, well, I mean, if the damn thing goes to $5, $6, or is anybody going to be quibbling about 15 cents difference? Probably not. So the way that, somebody just asked me to look at it, I don't have a problem giving you my 2 cents. What I would just simply say is maybe see if you can just pick some up off of the W and then just add to the position on pullbacks. If you can get a pullback, you see Bitcoin's down like $5,000 in a week or something, and the sky's falling and altcoins are starting to really melt down. That's the pullback that you're looking for to add to the trade. And notice, even if this thing jumps all the way up to 77 cents, notice that the good old Brian's favorite fib doesn't really move a hell of a lot here. So the point being, and what actually usually happens with a lot of these kind of things is the market will pop, because keep in mind, that's just even recent resistance all the way up there. And then what ends up happening is that the 78.6 happens to line up with previous market structure. And what setup on the site do we call that? Can you see the W there? I mean, it's as plain as day. So that if anything, you're telling me that this guy has settled up with people that were kind of screwed over by him in the past. This would not W like that unless that was actually like the case. This is a pretty powerful message from the market that they believe that there's some sort of value down here. Nice, Nick. I mean, in essence, that's what we call a shark setup, where you're going to try and, let this thing pop. And if you can get that 78.6 to line up with the previous market structure bottom, that's our shark setup. So, I mean, if anything, that's a little bothersome because that pop high there is over $1, which means you might even be able to get a double off here before the pullback even happens. But anyway, we'll see what happens. It's an interesting name. I can't speak to the fundamentals, but I can definitely speak to the technicals, and I like this kind of image. And that, remember that saucer bottom kind of thinking? I really like sort of like shoulder, neckline, head, neckline, shoulder, go, which makes that saucer bottom. Definitely like that. It's very interesting. And I don't know whether you remember my blabbing away there, Dan, at the top of the market. But when I first started that crypto show, of course, we were at the top of the market up here. And it was sort of like, oh God, into this kind of market state. Do you remember that? The end of 2021, and fucking Allen and all that nonsense and stuff with the Doge. And it was very difficult to convince people not to chase up here. But hopefully you can see the difference in the way these markets look now. I mean, you might have looked at this and said, well, gee whiz, that's a good looking bottom. Why can't I find names that look like that have come like right down off of the highs? Well, folks, that's where we are. We're back in that environment. Technically speaking, I mean, I suppose we could look at all the internals. Not bad. It looks like we've got bottoms trying to come in on MACD. Volume's a little bit, man, nothing really to get too excited about. You'd really like to see big green bars here, especially if that guy actually did settle up everything and everybody's back in love with him. You'd like to see higher highs on the volume bars. And Willie's actually flashing a little bit of stupidity here right now. We're at like minus 20.16. If this goes above minus 20, then that means it is officially overbought. So, you might see this thing pull back here. I like the idea, believe it or not, because it is so far off of the highs and just bounces to 38.2s. Will spit out multiple doubles. I don't really mind the idea of actually just buying some here.